So what made you start a podcast?
Oh, well. So, two things. Um, so we're recording.
Got it.
Um, so the podcast was designed to generate online content in a more organic way than someone putting together content while like holding a selfie stick. So what I mean by that is like
Yeah, I'm guilty of the selfie stick.
yeah, like well, I'm trying to always get in front of as many like referral partners and as the majority of them are going to be financial advisors, CPAs, like real estate agents. So how do you generate value, right? And when the business was starting to get slow, and by slow I mean we all know that like 2020, 2021, even 2022, those were fantastic years for real estate. So when we started to see things slow down a little bit, it was like, okay, what do we need to do? And by we, I mean like the whole community. It's like we need to get in front of our clients. We need to create content. We need to generate value so that number one, if someone's looking, we're findable.
Mm.
And number two, when the business does take back off, which it always will, we at least have like an arsenal of things that show credibility, able to, easy to find and maybe even generate new clientele. And a lot of real estate agents were being told this by coaches and everything along those lines. And I think the biggest obstacle for a lot of people is like, okay, I feel uncomfortable. I've never done this. So my whole theory or idea was, all right, if I put together a podcast and do everything in, quality audio, quality like video and everything along those lines, then
It's a big investment.
sure is. Then, we can sit down with agents or any kind of referral partner, have a general conversation similar to like a one-to-one. And then I was able to generate a lot of really good clips and a lot of what, people want to produce anyway is just content that talks about what it is they do for a living, why they do what they do, and these will be things that you and I will chat about. And so instead of being like, let me tell you why you should use my business, right? It just, again, it's totally unscripted. It's very organic and it generates a lot of good content. What's very surprising is the amount of agents that I know that this would be good for them and they still won't do it.
Because they're uncomfortable with it?
Yeah, and I've got some theories behind that, none of which I have like any facts to really back up. But my big one is I think all of us, especially depending on your age, are guilty of like swearing up and down that we would never in a million years like succumb to anything like social media influencing or anything along those lines. Because if you said that like 10 or 15 years ago, it wasn't necessarily as, predominant and necessary as some might argue that it is, right? It's like I get my business through word of mouth.
But the whole landscape has changed. And if you don't adapt with the landscape, you're going to be left behind.
Sure. I mean, I would agree with that. So I think though that, one of the things that you hear people talk about a lot is like being married to their ideas. And like you had a hardline stance on a topic and probably even like talked a bunch of shit, and now the landscape has changed and you are going to go and do things that you swore you would never do, and like I said, probably made fun of people behind their back. Again, this is
that's
just
me with
a theory.
AI. That's me with
Okay.
AI. 100%. Like I'm a slow adopter, I think. I don't know. Plus, I personally am just afraid of AI taking over. But I see it as such a useful tool in how you can use it, and you're going to be left behind if you don't try to take advantage of some things.
Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, what's interesting about that is similarly to what we're talking about in regards to social media is that right now it's somewhat debatable, right? Like you can see it that it's coming, but you can get a lot done without being involved with, AI heavily. Where 10, 15 years ago, I think the same is true for social media, where now it's very difficult to it's almost like, it's almost a necessity. And it's interesting because I I never really like doubled down about the whole social media thing and like teased people or made fun of it, but I just preferred to live somewhat of a private life.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, I didn't really get involved in all of the social media stuff until like 2014, 2015. So like literally 10 years ago, where it was kind of already doing its thing
Right.
10 years ago. But to your point, it's been good. It's I don't know if the word's fun. I mean, I don't dislike it,
But
but
I mean, like, kind of like you said, this is a more organic way for people to talk about their passion without it seeming like a commercial.
right.
And so, like, if you're a person who I suspect enjoys one-to-ones, right? Like, you're just recording it. And now, like you said, you're offering something of value to them at the end of it. So it just makes you likable. Why
Sure.
wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, yeah, and the way that I like to think about it too is that I think we're all guilty of, for lack of a better term, like trolling people that we work with before we even call them.
Hmm.
So whatever the business is, right? Whether you're going to like hire, a loan officer for your mortgage, or a real estate agent, or even like a personal trainer, there's something to be said about being able to get a referral from someone that says, "Hey, call this guy or girl. Here's their contact information." And then before even making that phone call, going online, Googling their name, it comes up. You're able to watch videos. You're able to see who you're going to be
Yeah.
dealing with. Whether or not, regardless of how you feel about it, like human
It's another
beings
layer
are,
of trust.
yeah, and human beings are, we're pretty prejudiced, right? Like prejudging. I don't mean like, like
Right.
in the totally derogatory sense of the word, more just by definition. And so I think that giving someone an opportunity, because not everybody's like an extroverted salesperson,
Ah,
right?
what's that like?
Right. And so being able to kind of do a little bit of research and get comfortable with who you're about to connect with, I don't know. I just, it's been good. It's been good for business. It's been good for making connections with other business people. I mean, because there is value in this. Like you said, it's a big investment, and not everybody wants to go out and spend, thousands and thousands of dollars on all of this equipment. They kind of just want to come in, record a few things, and then we get all the footage out to everybody, whatever they want to do with it, right? But it's been very interesting, to say the least. In addition to all of the things we just covered, just what I've identified that people seem to resonate with in terms of content.
So it's like you're kind of trying to find your voice at the same time.
Yeah, well, and one of the things I talk about a lot when people ask me about how this all came to fruition is the expectation of someone that hasn't really done a lot with social media. The expectation of what they think is going to generate good content is really interesting to me, because what I've identified is people that don't have a big social media presence and they're like, I know I need to do this. I know I need to get on. We do things like a podcast, for example, and I'll send them the footage. They won't post it. We'll bring them in here. We'll do like what I'm getting at, without giving 900 examples, is it's really interesting to see that, and this goes to my second theory, is people have some sort of preconceived notion about what their social media content is going to look like, but they don't necessarily, they know what they don't want it to look like. They have no idea what they want it to look like. And so I sometimes start questioning people when I'm like, hey, we did that. Why didn't you post any of the footage? They're like, I didn't really like it. I don't like this. I don't like that. And after doing a bunch of like, questioning, like, can you tell me somebody that's online, regardless of their business, can you tell me someone who's online right now that you are like, this is what I want my content to look like? And I'd say 9 out of 10 times they're like, I'm not sure. I'm like, so you have this idea of what you don't want things to look like, but you can't tell me what it is that you're looking for. And what I think it is that And this so those are the things that are facts. I talk to people and I have them on, but this part is kind of another just theory. I think deep down people think that like their social media content has to be like a reality TV show. Like the opening is like a
Oh, like all
background of the
dramatic,
city,
yeah.
and then it's like do 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 do, and
But
it like
that's not realistic, right?
correct.
Like, I mean, if you're the type of person who wants to do the editing and to create that, then go for it. But I think what would be have more resonance with people is this back and forth,
course.
this actual real conversations.
And those are tough conversations for me to have with people that I try to encourage to come in, because I've even had instances where people have asked me, hey, can we come in and do a podcast? Like, and I'm totally fine with that, right? Like I've had people come in where I'm not even on the podcast and we just set everything up. They have their conversations. I send them the footage and I'll follow up or even follow them on social media. And I'm like, I never saw you post your podcast. Like, do you need help with it? Because I do all the production, right? So it took me a good 3 to 4 months to learn how to do all of this. For the first 6 months we were doing it, I had Flash Media Marketing. Shout out to Michael Beltran.
I love him.
Yeah, same. They did a fantastic job for the first 6 months. And so while I was cutting my teeth on the content and the interviews, they were doing all of the editing. And then it was one of those things, I was very transparent with them. I said, hey, I want to learn how to do this. And one of two things is going to happen. Either I'm going to get busy and then I'll continue to hire y'all, or the industry is going to stay a little bit slow. And then it's not personal. It's just like, if I learn how to do this and I have the time to do it, it's going to be more cost effective for me to just do it. So I do all the edits and everything. And going back to my whole story of like, we'll have people who will come in and do the podcast without me, and we'll produce the footage for them, and then like we never see it. And I'm like, what's going on? Are you having trouble editing it? Like, what seems to be the hang up? And like, we didn't like it. And I'm like, what didn't you like about it? And they're like, I don't know. It just seemed, people have said different things. But the bottom line is it's like you've got like $4,000 lighting in here. So that is what makes your 4K cameras like work. You have HD audio in here, and it's a podcast. And so we edit it to where like anytime you're speaking, that camera's going to literally like pan over to you and vice versa. And it's all done very, very well, right? There's no way that we could really be doing a podcast any better. I've even had people that have said like, what if we put some plants in here and like hung up some things on the walls? And it's like, well, the way that we're recording it is we're trying to generate content where like it's up here. Like there's nothing that, there's like a giant whiteboard back here that you see. And like there's a Cookie Monster rug on the floor. And
which
like,
I adore, by the way.
yeah, well,
is blue
it's
your
really
favorite color?
No, it's really just designed for, you can treat it as a green screen. So it's not a true green screen, but it's like a green screen. So if, we wanted to put backgrounds in. The point I'm trying to make is that none of this gets seen. And so sure, we could create some ambiance to make like the situation better for the guest, but it doesn't produce any different content. And so going back to, I'm like, okay, well, what was it that you were looking for? And again, it's just, for me, I'm just interested, because even if they were to say like, here's what we want to do, I'm not like chomping at the bit. I do this all pro bono for people just to help out, right? It's not like a side hustle of mine. And after like I said, 9 out of 10 of them can't tell me. And then like the ones that can, it's like, I swear to God, they're like, they want it to be like a reality TV show. And it's just funny to me because, again, exactly what you just said. My whole idea behind it is a true podcast is really just two people having a conversation, and
Well, I mean, like when I think of a podcast, I'm not even thinking of the visuals. I'm like popping in a podcast when I'm going for a run, so I'm just listening to it.
You can listen to this on Spotify. It'll be up tomorrow.
Well, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, so like even the term podcast has kind of changed a little bit. I don't know if it's like Joe Rogan or whatever, but now it's all video and it's different. You can't really have a podcast without the video, because I think people want to see your face, but at the same time, like it started out as being an audio content, and I think I don't know. It's interesting to hear your perspective on that.
Well, and to your point, I've had a few people who have come on here, and they're like, I want to do a podcast. What can you help me with? And I'm really shocked at the amount of people that they're like, no. I just want to do it audio, which is totally cool.
Yeah.
And there's a couple people that we've had on here that we've helped, and they do not do anything in regards to visual, which is totally fine. However, I have had people that have flat out told me that they, quite to like the opposite of that, they go home and while they're like cooking or cleaning or whatever, they will not like listen to podcasts unless they can do it on Spotify where there's the actual visuals. And I think a lot of that is because some of these podcasts like will put stuff up, you know, like charts or whatever.
Right. Like if they're talking about us. Okay.
Right. But that was always, but again, I mean, the podcast is just that. And then the majority of the value that we get is from creating the clips that come from this, which, I mean, you will see. I mean, there's always good sound bites or whatever you want to call it, 2 to 3 minute moments that we can clip and then obviously direct people to the full podcast if they want to hear it. So
that's pretty awesome. I'm very excited. I've been like watching a few of yours. I'm like, man, how do I get on there? I didn't know it was.
all you got to do is ask.
Well, I did.
There it
So
is.
now here we are.
So Kimberly Fannin,
Yes, sir.
now that we've gone and talked a little bit about the podcast, first time on, which is awesome. Thank you for being here. And then Picasso Paint and Design and Remodeling. Okay. I think you and I met, probably 3 years ago?
3 or 4 years ago. Yes, sir.
3 or 4 years ago through networking, all the things.
NIA. Yeah.
You're a big, noble networker. I see you everywhere.
Thank you.
And you stay consistent. So how long have you been with Picasso?
I've been with Picasso for about 2 years now.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing for them.
Sales and project management.
Okay.
So I've been with them for a little while now, and my kind of niche is networking and getting people to know who we are. It's harder when you're like a small business and no one really knows who you are. So to get your name out there, to become recognizable, it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of boots on the ground, and hopefully that translates into leads. I really want it to translate into leads.
Sure.
But I think my role in Picasso is people. I'm a people person. I'm a relationship builder.
Kind of like business development.
Yeah.
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 I get that.
But it's sales ultimately at the end of the day. I got to make those sales.
So what made you decide to hook up with Picasso? Because when we met originally, I believe you were working for like another like restoration company or something along those lines. And then, so kind of the same line of work, just a different company.
Yeah. So I've been in construction, circling construction for about a decade now. So I used to own my own pressure washing and window cleaning company with my ex, and we divorced, and he kept the company. So that they're still doing great. So I got a taste of entrepreneurship and what that feels like, and so I always tend to go for smaller companies. There's something about that hustle. There's something about that building that I really enjoy. And then I worked for a plumbing company, and they were only doing new builds, commercial new builds. They weren't really delving into the service part, but they did talk about their goals being to eventually sell. And I told them, if that's the case, then you really need a service department. So they gave me one truck and one plumber, and so I get to work. And then the freeze happened. And so we did quite well. And then I decided to move on. And I was working for a different renovation company. Construction is a hard industry to be in.
Yeah, it's competitive.
It's competitive, and there's a lot of moving parts. And if you're not completely on it and disciplined, you're going to see a lot of companies go down. And so the previous company that I was working with, they were not as diligent with their finances, and so they closed shop. And I was kind of rudderless for a while, but because I network, I just kept putting myself out there. I think that there's a lot of value in that. And Picasso found me, and they wanted me on their team. They kind of assumed the sale, and I decided to work with them, and it's been a great learning experience.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about them. I mean, obviously construction, is there Do they just do it all, or is there anything specific that they're trying to capitalize on in the construction world?
Well, we have big plans. We have
Okay.
our whole like 10-year plan set out, man.
Tell me about it.
So right now we're just trying to capitalize on remodeling here in Austin. We really want to make a name for ourselves. We want to become recognizable. And then we have further plans. Maybe we'll, not maybe, we will be going into different markets. We do plan on expanding. And then we want to create like a commercial sector, and then we also want to do a custom home sector.
Okay.
But right now we're just focusing on remodeling and renovation. But I think what sets us apart, and it is in our name, Picasso. We all come from the trades. Everyone that works there has worked in the trades in some sense. And when you do that, you realize that there's an art to the trades.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone can do it and do it well. And we really respect our trades. And so we specialize in the art of construction. Like, we want to create a lasting memory in your home, and help you like find the beauty of your own home and bring that out. And that's something we feel really passionate about. I'd love it. So.
Well, hopefully, unlike Picasso, you guys start making money before you die.
Yeah, no, that's a plan. That's a plan. That's a plan. It's a construction is fun. It's a little intimidating sometimes, being quite frequently female in a male-dominated world. But where I work, everyone is so respectful because we started from the bottom and we've worked our way up. And there's a certain type of grit to that I respect.
Absolutely. You mentioned all the networking and everything that you do, and it's been a good source of referrals. Is there any particular type of business that seems to be a really solid connection for you? In other words, like for me, it would be, I mentioned it in the beginning of this, real estate, financial advisors. What seems to be the best kind of referral partner for yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, we all want the real estate agents. I feel like every trade, everyone wants real estate agents. And
what's the why on that, just for people who are listening? Why is that such a good fit for you?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Real estate agents are in people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to sell homes. And a lot of the time, we kind of are blind to our surroundings. We walk in, walk out every day. When you get a third party involved and they're kind of walking around your house, they're going to notice the trim. They're going to notice the paint. They're going to notice the outdated fixtures, and they're going to make suggestions. And so to be a trusted vendor with a real estate agent, especially a high-performing real estate agent, carries a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, and so yes, we're always after the real estate agents, absolutely. Insurance agents are also a really good referral partner for me, meaning, if a storm were to blow through, right, I may not want to handle the roofs, but the fence, the siding, the windows, or, if you have a leak in your house and now your drywall's messed up. These are the things that I like to work with. But it's also when someone purchases a new home, and before they can even get insured, they have to have, the railing up, the siding, fixed before they'll even get insured. So those are some obvious referral partners. I think the not so obvious referral partners are what I would consider like my direct competition. Why would I want to be in a room with 50 other contractors? But that's exactly where I want to be. I really believe in strategic partnerships, and I love working with the trades. So I like to be in touch with plumbers and HVAC and restoration companies.
We had an electrician that was in the office for about maybe 8 or 9 months. We'll have to get you in connection with him. He says the exact same thing. He's always looking to be in touch with other contractors and stuff. Now, he only does electrical, but...
Yeah, no, I mean, I had this one HVAC guy, and every time he would call me, someone calls you, you're like, hey, how are you doing? You having a good day? He's like, Kim, if I ever call you, I'm not having a good day. My guy just stepped through a ceiling again. I need you to come out and fix it. So it's when you're networking, I think it's really good to have like a category A and a category B. So category A for me are those really obvious referral partners that you're trying to build in those relationships. And then category B are things that you think be strategic about the people that may offer value, or someone that you can offer value to, because I'm not selling to the people I'm not working with. I'm not coming up to you and be like, you need to renovate your house.
Right.
But what I'm doing instead is I'm trying to build a circle of trust. Like, I want you to trust me and see me as a professional, so that when you're out and your neighbor says, I really hate this paint color, you have someone that you can say, I know someone who's going to do a really good job for you.
Do you find when you're talking to people that are the like solid referral partners, like insurance companies and real estate agents, that they kind of already have systems in place, or do they not have systems in place and kind of like go with the flow?
It depends how established they are in their career. If
Okay.
they're pretty new, they're still building out their vendor list. If they are more established, they probably already do have some people that they refer out to. But in my industry, all it takes is one really bad day, and you have broken trust. And so a contractor can have a bad day with a client, and that referral goes south. It's really hard to get back to it. So I like to just be in communication. And sometimes there are those moments where either a contractor is too busy, or they had a bad experience. And so they reach out to me to see if I can fix it. I fix a lot of problems for other contractors, is kind of been my little personal niche.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's good to know. I mean, like I said, I'm just thinking of things as people may be listening to this or watching it. You know, everybody, we talk about this all the time in networking, where I think the hardest thing that we can do, or that we have to do, is how do we train the people that we are connected with to listen for what it is that because they know exactly what their clients need, right? But unless a client like actively comes out and says, I hate this paint color, and then even then they might be like, oh, well, you should paint. You know,
Yeah,
they're not going to flat
exactly.
out say, I actually know someone who can come in and can talk to you about this, who can give you a quote on what it would cost. And I've always said that that's the toughest part, you know, because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm a loan officer, but I'm also kind of like a business development sales rep as well. I have to sell what it is I do. And
If you're an entrepreneur, you kind of have all that.
sure. And it's just interesting to me how many times, you know, people that 100%, you know, love me, would refer me to anyone, unless someone is actively like, I need a loan officer. There are so many cues on what to listen for. And this goes back to the question that I asked about your, you know, your heavy like opportunity referral partners, which again is a real estate agent or an insurance company. I'm always surprised, especially with real estate agents, how often they don't have systems in place. And because it's one thing if you're like, yep, I've got the best lender, or in your case, they would say I have the best, you know, contractor. I've been working with them for years. Like, we can maybe make you number two, but like for the most part, everything's going to them. It's like, cool. But the amount of people that are like, yeah, I'm not working with anyone, and then are going into homes and ultimately putting it on their clients, because I don't know if they're just not thinking or what, but like
No, that's
there's
a very
so
valid
much
point.
opportunity for them to refer, and I don't know what it is. Do they just kind of black out and go, let's like get online and search for a painter, when it's like, you know one?
Well, I think it's a circle of trust.
Okay.
I think so the owner, one of his favorite things to do when he presents, right? Because when we network, we present, right?
Yeah.
So he'll ask the room, who here has used a contractor? Everyone raises their hand. Then the next question he asks is, who's had a bad experience with a contractor?
Right.
Most of those hands stay up.
Sure.
So it's really hard for someone to refer a contractor unless you've built that trust first.
Because their big concern is that,
Now it's going to look bad on me.
Yeah.
If I was a real estate agent and I told you all these things you had to get done to your house, it's not a small thing. It's not like a window cleaner.
right.
Right? It's easy to refer a window cleaner. What's the worst that can happen,
Sure.
right? But referring me, it's a high cost. sometimes, and it's a high level of trust.
Yeah.
So I think that's what stands in my way sometimes. So that's why relationship building is the most important thing for me.
Right.
I don't want a quick referral. It's going to go south.
Yeah.
I want to build that trust with you. I want you to understand my process, and you can only do that by one-to-ones and networking, and that's why I'm such a huge proponent of networking in general.
That makes a lot of sense. The only pushback I would give on that is one of the statistics that we talk about in my business, and I have a feeling that this is going to be something that is probably similar with you,
Okay.
is when, a real estate agent has a buyer or a seller, they say that 60% of the time, that buyer or seller will not use that same agent if there is a bad experience that takes place in the transaction. It doesn't even necessarily have to be the real estate agent's fault, right?
Yeah.
And so with what you just said, that makes a ton of sense because as a real estate agent, you kind of have two roads, right? It's like I can just put my hands up in the air and say, hey, here's the repairs that need to be done. Like call someone
Right.
And then I think that,
It places the burden on the customer.
right. But then here's the problem with that. Like, I'm here to tell you that even if they have a bad experience and you didn't refer that contractor, like that's falling back on you whether or
Regardless.
not you referred them. So like you are not, I mean, I see this a lot where, you know,
It's fascinating.
something in the transaction isn't going well. Like sometimes it's title, right? Like, and I don't want to like say anything bad about title companies. I'm just using it as an example. And the title company is a title company that was like chosen by one of these real estate agents. And they'll be like, oh, the title company, oh, the title company. And you can watch the agent or even sometimes the lender try to pass responsibility off on what's going on. And it's the title company. I'm here to tell you that client doesn't care. And you are culpable, even if you didn't refer that. I see it with the inspector a lot, right? Where it's like, oh, the inspector missed this or the inspector missed that. And I know agents that have flat out told me that they are hesitant to refer inspectors because they don't want anything to happen during the inspection that is going to frustrate the buyer, and therefore they're going to have to take responsibility. So they just say, hey, call your own inspector. But I'm like, you could maybe debate that a little less responsibility is put on you, but not all. They're gonna blame. They're gonna remember if that, situation doesn't go well. And if you're just going like, well, it's your inspector, like this is who you chose, like not a good look, not gonna go over well. And in my opinion, so like you're gonna get dinged one way or another. You might as well have it be someone that you feel like you have, for lack of a better term, control over, and that you've like had a good experience with in the past. And
That's a valid point.
I just don't see as much of that where, like, again, insurance agents are something that's like really easy for me to refer, right? I am
Sure.
like involved in the process where I'm basically telling a client, you need to choose an insurance company. And therefore insurance agents are constantly chasing me around. Like I'm, the belle of the ball to an insurance agent, right? And so what's interesting is like, I prefer for people to use an insurance company that I have a good relationship with, because little does the client know that the insurance agent can like jam us up in the process. Like we could literally not close on time because of an insurance company. And, obviously I want people to get the best coverage and I want them to get the lowest rate, but making sure that we close on time and not ugly is super important. And so if I were to just say like, well, go ahead and contact whatever insurance company you want to, because I'm fearful that like maybe you're not going to be happy with the quote you get, or you're going to, I don't know what kind of bad experience could happen. I, knock on wood, I'm lucky enough to work with good companies, but, to just kind of throw my hands up and say, hey, I'm not sure if we're going to close on time. What's going on with your insurance agent? Your company is jamming me up. Like, not a good look to say to my client.
No, that would almost piss me off, honestly, if I heard that. I'd be like, what do you mean? Now you're blaming me for this? Isn't this? Yeah, I can understand the human aspect of like turning that around, because no one wants to take that culpability. So someone's gonna, yeah.
So
that's
how does that
interesting.
look as a real estate agent when you're going around and saying, hey, I really think that we can get the value that you're looking to get on this property. If you were to go ahead and just paint a few rooms, go ahead and call a couple painters, get a couple estimates, and then, work on getting these done and then call me back. And now next thing you know, they've gotten a few calls, they've gotten some bad experiences, no one's even called them. Maybe the painters come in and they take weeks, but we have this deadline. And now me as an agent, without saying it, I don't even have to come out and say it, but just like, hey, I can tell that you're frustrated, and the reason that we're in this position is because your painters are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. You don't have to flat out say that, but like, isn't it debatable that that's kind of the look?
Oh, it's 100% the look.
So why, as an agent, wouldn't you want to say, hey, let me get you some names of some individuals that I know do good work that are going to take care of you? Like, well, I don't know. I don't see enough of it.
See, I've had the opposite too, right? So I've had a real estate agent who was trying to sell a home, and she got our name. I'm not sure how she got us as a referral partner, but she took control of that entire transaction. She was there every day. She wanted to make sure everything was up to standards. She was very happy with our work. And I think she took ownership. And I think it's the act of taking ownership for your client that really goes a long way. But I think you're right. I think less experienced real estate agents may be a little fearful to do that. And at the end of the day, you're still going to get the same result. So, yeah, hire Picasso.
Yeah.
You're going to know I'm going to do a good job.
There you go. Has, have you all been busy? Is business slow? Like, can you tell me just a little bit about, you're just kind of, not just you personally, but Picasso in general, or just the contracting industry in general?
Well, it's an interesting time, right? We work with a lot of investors, so we do full flips. So it doesn't really matter if it's the holidays. Those are kind of established clients that continue to use us. Then we also work with bigger general contractors on commercial projects. And so buildings are happening all the time. I have a bid right now for a project I'm very excited about, a TI build out, a tenant build out, and I am looking to bid on a few more of those, and that helps us to be busy. But generally, your average homeowner is not going to want to hire you in the middle of a holiday season. They don't want to, even if they had the money and they want to move forward with it, construction can be chaotic. And if they don't understand our process, it seems like a huge headache and not something that they want to do.
Yeah.
My job is to manage that chaos for you.
Right.
My job is to keep your house as clean as possible in a construction situation, to anticipate any problems before they even come across your radar, whether it's logistics of materials, whether it's, labor, whatever. And that's kind of the advantage of hiring a general contractor versus, a design to build firm that we are versus just your average,
Right.
Joe with a truck. So yeah, in some senses we're busy, but the projects I really want to concentrate on, it's just a little bit of a tougher avenue to get in. So.
Yeah, unpack that. I mean, what is the projects that you are trying to concentrate on? Who's the ideal client right now?
Yeah, they always teach you in BNI, networking, right? Business networking, international, to not say, well, everyone's my ideal client. If you own a house, you're my ideal client, but to be very, very specific, right?
Sure.
So for me personally, I want to get into more commercial spaces. I want to do more tenant build outs.
Okay.
Because that is a challenge for me, and I just like a good challenge. So that's what I would like to focus on. But a really good client for us in general is your homeowner who may not, if it was 4 years ago, right, where it was easier to buy and sell and the market was a little bit easier to navigate, they would be the type of client who would, I'm ready to change houses, Right now, it's not feasible for a lot of people. So a lot of people instead are deciding to increase the equity in the home that they're currently residing in. So they're doing a lot of updates.
Mhm.
They're updating their bathroom. They're updating their kitchen. That's the kind of clients that we tend to gravitate towards right now.
I call those the love it or leave it clients. You
Yeah.
ever watch that show?
No.
I'm not a big HGTV guy, but that was one of the ones that I always found interesting. Not because I enjoyed watching it, but just the kind of the mental dynamics behind it. So the whole premise of the show was, the contractors would come in and they would put together like a budget. Everyone had the same budget. There was like 3 houses per episode, and it was
And
like
they would
3
do
families.
3D renderings, right?
They do a whole bunch of stuff, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what ended up happening is like, I don't know, we'll just use a round number. Like they have $100,000. They make a $100,000 investment into their property, and then they show them like what their house was worth before versus what it could sell for. And then at the end of the show, they had to determine whether or not they wanted to list it and take the money or they wanted to stay there. And like something crazy, like 75 or 80% of the people ended up staying.
Yeah.
And I always found that to be like really interesting and kind of showing my age here, but I've been doing this for like 22, 23 years. When I first got into this business, you watch things I've watched things kind of go through these evolutions of what clients are looking for, whether it's like turnkey property, new build, a house with good bones.
Right.
But when I first got into it, it was all about like house with good bones. And there's a part of me that thinks that that's like what we're about to go back into because, to your point, you have a lot of people that want to purchase. Homes are expensive. Interest rates are, generating issues with affordability. Taxes are high, whatever have you. And I really get excited about the possibility. And I hope I'm right. I don't have a lot to go on this, but looking back on it, it was always really cool to like talk to younger people that were like, I want to buy this house and like, I want to redo the kitchen. I want to redo the bathroom.
It's such a fun process.
I think so. And, this newer generation, and again, this is where my age comes in, like people that are, 5, 10 years younger than me, none of them know how to do anything. And I get these people approved and I mean, they'll walk into a situation where like a bathroom needs like, maybe a new vanity and they're like, oh,
It's too much.
way too much for me. And, then they'll go spend like an extra $60,000, $70,000 on a home because it's got paint and, it's, what do they call it? Like it's like a cheap flip.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's got the updated like fixtures, which
Right.
can be like a cost-effective way to update your home, and it makes everything look flashy. You'd be surprised what just some updated fixtures and just a coat of paint can do.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
But I
seen
don't
it.
know. For me, working in the industry that I'm working in, like I appreciate quality. Like I love a house with good bones, something that's solid,
Right.
something that's going to stand the test of time, and update it to my standards. Absolutely, but
Well, I'm here to tell you that is terrifying for a good portion of the generation that is younger than me. And there is a part of me, again, going back to where I feel we are economically, because this whole, good bones and renovation stuff, this would have been in like 2009, 2010, right after 2008. And and what's interesting about it is that like, I would talk to so many people and you would think that it was like their passion or their idea, but it really is interesting how there's such a herd mentality in real estate. And I'm just waiting for the herd to determine that like this is what younger people should be doing, because as soon as they do, like it's just going to flip. Maybe it won't. Maybe that won't be what they all tell each other. But there's something to me that's exciting about that possibility, and hell, it'd be good for you.
oh, it'd be awesome for me.
Right? Especially since, forget about people who are buying. That would be awesome. But there's a lot of people.
Just in general.
Well, there's a lot of
Buying,
people
yeah.
that have a lot of equity in their properties, right?
That's true.
And a lot of them are like, well, I've got this low interest rate, but I want to use the money in my house to buy a new home. It's like, well, why don't you just use the money in your house to like do all the things to your home that you want to do to your home?
Yeah.
I've said this a bunch on the podcast. Like, I feel like it's a Texas thing. In Ohio, we have my first house that I bought was built in like 1897.
That's so awesome.
And that's like what people do. like new build is you've got to go way outside the city to even do something like that. And I feel like in Texas, the thing to do is buy a brand new build, live in it for like 10 or 15 years, and then just like sell it like it's a used car. Like I can't tell you how many new builds I go into as like an open house to see agents, and you look around and you can tell like whoever bought this house brand new hasn't done anything to it. Not one thing has been changed in this house. And obviously there's just a lot more land out here, but it is something culturally I've identified that, and it's not everybody, but y'all have a way of buying brand new homes and living in them and moving out of them once they're like outdated and making it someone else's problem.
Yeah, it's like a pair of shoes for some people.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. I think that's probably attributed to like you kind of alluded to it, to how big Texas is. That suburban sprawl really, we need houses. We have all these sleeper cities like Kyle and Buda.
Yep.
There's a lot of open space. There's a lot of room to build, and I think it's unfortunate that instead of just like building like a quality, a home that can live for generations, where I am seeing a lot of home builders that just want to get quantity out there. You're seeing the lots get smaller and smaller. I don't know. It takes away from the whole Texan idea to me.
You're not really seeing the houses get smaller though.
No, but yeah, exactly. So you're getting these tiny yards, these big 2-story homes, and there lacks personality. And that's why I love what I do, because what we're doing is we're helping bring personality back into these homes. We're helping, increase the actual build quality of what's already there. We're helping you visualize, and we have a designer on staff, which is what makes us unique. So we do design to build. So we will walk inside a house, and kind of like what we were talking about in the podcast, I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't like.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We get that a lot with what we do. And so it's really great to have a designer on staff who can walk with us through the property and be like, okay, I hear what you don't want. Let me give you some ideas of what you do want. And we create 3D renderings, and we create mood boards, and we help you visualize that space. And then once people can visualize themselves in this home and really make it their own, I think there's something beautiful about that. I heard somewhere, and it stuck with me when I was a teenager. I was reading Cosmopolitan, right?
Doing the quizzes.
Yeah, doing the quizzes.
Figuring out what kind of man you're supposed to fall in love with.
Exactly. But there was an article, and it was about like girls who go into their dorm room for the first time and how to decorate a dorm room, like stupid shit, right?
Yeah.
But what always stood out to me is create your room to work with how you live. Meaning, if you always have a cup of coffee, I don't know, not in the bathroom. That would be a terrible space to have a cup of coffee. But like, think about the flow of your life and design your living space to follow that flow. Right? If it doesn't, and I think that's what you're doing with this area, with your offices here. This is something that you designed to work within the flow of the life that you are creating for your business.
Yeah.
Right? There's something beautiful to that, and that's why I love what I do.
And it's ever changing, I tell you. We've it's been a lot of work. We still probably have another. I don't think we'll be done for another year or two. But yeah, I'm the one that likes to do the things and make the updates. I have found that in the long run, especially, it's the way to go. And there's I always relate it to, and I think you kind of brought this up when you talked about just entrepreneurship and the excitement of all of it. There's something cool about getting like what I call the experience points.
Yeah,
right,
100%.
So like, shout out to my buddy back in Cleveland, Mike Dewar. He owns a printing company that he owns and operates with his brother, and they've been running it for, like 20 years, maybe longer. And Michael, like 15 years ago, decided that he wanted to get involved in doing T-shirts. And he still does a lot of these like Cleveland T-shirts, and he follows trends with like sports and stuff like that. And like all these like really time-sensitive, quippy T-shirts. And he's been doing it now for like 15 years. And in the grand scheme of things, like he's not making like tons and tons of money off of these T-shirts, right? But like he is already working at a printing company, so it's not like crazy to print T-shirts in addition to what he does. But I remember asking him, I'm like, why don't you like double down on this t-shirt stuff? Like you enjoy it so much. It seems like it's fun. And I've always kind of felt that he's never really like given it a full go on the t-shirt stuff. And he flat out said, he's like, I kind of just like the experience points more than anything. You know, the fact that I can have conversations with people, that I do these custom t-shirts. It's not costing him money. It's profitable, right? But like he's not taking over the world doing it. And so I think there's something to be said for that when, you know, people are purchasing property, even if you're not the one physically doing the work yourself, if you're bringing in a general contractor and you're like a part of the design and it's like yours, I feel like that's something that's it's lacking a little bit. But then in the same token, I'll sit down with people that, you know, I'll tell them what I do for a living and then they'll go, "Oh, we're in the middle of building." I'm like, "Really?" They're like, "Yeah, with KB Homes." And all I can think of is like, you're not building anything. You're
No.
picking out backsplashes and maybe a paint color or two.
Yeah.
But I keep quiet because, to my point of what I was saying, is they feel involved. And that's a good feeling.
It's a great feeling.
But imagine if you were really involved.
Oh my gosh, so much fun.
So much more fun.
It really is. Like, I don't know. Like, what I find to be fun now has changed over the years. Like, going out and partying used to be really fun,
Yeah.
but now, like, a good tile shop, ooh, I
Right.
love it. A good cabinetry shop, absolutely. It's
Well, you've just gotten fancier. Because going out and partying might cost you a couple $100. A trip to the tile shop could cost you a couple thousand.
right. Here's the thing. I think that everyone is creative.
Mhm.
I believe that. I really think that everyone has creativity within themselves, whether it's running a podcast or whether it's cooking dinner or whether it's public speaking or whether it's art, right?
Sure.
And I think it's such a beautiful thing, a beautiful process to create your own home. Like you're there all the time and to actually sit in something that you created and look around and be proud of the tile that you chose with our designer, the paint color, the trim, like moving a wall, like making something your own is such a beautiful thing. And like I said, everyone that we work with, we're masters at what we do. We really believe in the art of the trade. And so it's a fun process. The experience points that I get just as a project manager watching everything happen, it's the coolest job. It really is.
I
I
bet.
enjoy it.
I have a lot of friends that I grew up with that are, you know, getting into their like late 30s that are finally buying homes that were, you know, kind of party people for
Right.
years. And shout out to another one, Keith Jackson. I was actually just on the phone with him on Saturday. And, you know, he goes, I contacted him like Friday night and he didn't pick up. And he goes, "Hey, I'm just getting a chance to connect with you." He's like, "I've had such a busy Saturday. I had to rake all these leaves and everything like that."
My Home Depot trip. Yeah.
Right. And, you know, it's like he's like a whole new person and he loves it. And I said, you know, I've brought you up on the podcast like 3 or 4 times. You're like my best case study because I said, can you imagine if I would have told you 10 years from now or 10 years ago that you were going to like, you know, be raking leaves and, you know, doing all these things around your house. He had to change out the hot tub water because it was just time, you know, it's getting colder and
So he's adulting.
oh yeah, and he loves it. He loves it. And I'm like, can you imagine if I would have told you that you were going to do these things and you were going to love it? He's like, "Oh, I would have never believed you." And I'm like, look at you go, man. And it's one of my shameless plugs that I love to give on these podcasts because there's so many of you out there, you young men and women. I promise you, owning a home has got some sort of like, I can't explain it. It's just there's some value to it that you just don't get until you get a home.
Yeah, there's that ownership, that actual. I mean, yeah, you own it, but there's an ownership. There's a sense of pride, because being house poor is a thing. But you're investing a lot of time and energy into it,
Sure.
so it's a whole new level of fun.
We talk about being house poor. It's like a common term that I hear from everybody, and I ask everyone when they say it to me through an application, like, what does that mean? I'm like, well, you know, like house poor. And I'm like, I need you to define it for me.
Sure. So for me, what house poor is you have a lot of equity when you own a home. There is like future monetary like advantages to owning versus renting.
Sure.
but when your water heater goes out,
Mm.
when repairs are needing to be done, it feels like an expense more than anything.
Yeah.
So while you may be advantageous in being an owner, it's almost like now you're beholden to that.
Yeah. The two words or complaints that when I really break it down for people, it's one of two things. It's either what I've heard you describe as more like being house poor is temporary,
Mhm.
it comes and goes, or for some, being house poor means I'm going to have to cut into my lifestyle. With people who don't own homes, that's typically what it is, where I have conversations with people. We talk about what it would take in terms of home ownership. They can qualify, but they realize they're going to have to sell that $850 a month, you know, 4-door Chevy Silverado Texas Edition Pavement Princess that they don't even like use as a truck, right?
It's very common in Texas.
I know it is.
Yeah.
That's why I bring it up all the time, because in Ohio we use trucks for truck stuff.
Yeah.
Like we use it as a truck.
Mm.
I'm astonished at the amount of big, beautiful trucks in the state of Texas that are literally just driven around like sedans. Anyway, and you kind of are like, hey, if you do this and you do that, it's like you could totally afford this. And they're like, oof, I can't give up that lifestyle. That is usually what I run into. Or to your point, like, yeah, I mean, life happens, shit happens, and home ownership can feel house poor but it's temporary, right? I mean, you
It's
get back on your
expensive.
feet and things like that. But I can't tell you how many times I love working with move up buyers when they're looking at their equity, they're negotiating differently on their second home because now they have like what I call like monopoly money, right? Like
Yeah.
they're not pulling money from like an IRA or a checking or a savings account. Like
Yep.
this is just almost like unearned income that they're making a buying decision on. And I tell everyone that's what happened in 2020 and 2021. I mean, the comment that I would get all the time is people would be like, who are these people that are making these offers just so much over asking price? Like, who has this kind of money? It's like, well, people that bought 5 years ago.
Hmm.
So like that could be you in 2026.
Yeah.
And now I'm talking to a lot of people. I actually, again, can't say names, but I have an appointment with a woman today at 3:00 today who flat out admitted to me on Saturday when I made the initial phone call that she wanted to purchase in 2020 and 2021 and got very scared and was convinced that, she was one of the ones that was like, the housing market's going to crash or maybe rates will come back down or whatever. And here we are almost 6 years later. And she's like, it's easy to say, but it's like, damn it, I wish I would have bought in 2020, but I didn't. And, now she's ready to go. And we're going to make that happen. But yeah, it's interesting to see the
That's exciting for you. Like your job is pretty exciting. Like you're helping people earn this monopoly money in a sense. Like you're helping people really establish a baseline for a future for themselves.
I'll be honest, it used to be a lot more fun in the last few years, sadly, and I've said this out loud to a couple people, and it's been frustrating, and I hope it changes. But I feel like as a loan officer, I used to be more, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like important, right? Like a deal isn't getting done unless the financing takes place.
Right.
And for some reason, that's, kind of been forgotten about. And every time that I go into a purchase, I am going into it with trying to set people up as if I'm the one buying the home. And then not only like, what does it look like purchasing this property, but what does it look like in the future? Like, what if we turn this into a rental and we buy another home? What if we sell it? That's literally how I'm thinking, because I have legitimately been doing this so long. I have clients that I've done 3 or 4 homes with in the last 20 years, which is awesome. Unfortunately, and again, I hope this changes, but just with what's going on with property, what's been going on with real estate in general, there seems to be a lot of fixation on a lot of things that are outside of the feel good. It seems to have really taken a back seat. Right now, I mean, a great example is like in this business, we have government loans through the FHA and VA that there is a clause on those that you have the ability to assume the mortgage from the original owner. So like if they have a 2.5% interest rate, you could purchase that home and assume that mortgage. It sounds really cool when you say it, but the problem,
Sounds amazing.
yeah, the problem typically is that you can only assume what the balance of the mortgage is and what is owed on the home versus what the home is selling for. That difference needs to be brought in cash.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you want $500,000 for your home and you owe $250 at a 2.5% interest rate,
So only the
you can assume the $250,000, but you have to come up with the $250,000 in cash in order to make that deal happen. It's usually how and why it always falls apart. The why behind that mortgage even existing is that FHA is a government insured loan. And so to avoid any sort of foreclosure situation, the government has stepped in and said, look, if we ever run into a situation where someone's underwater, or even if the house is worth close to what is owed on it, you could potentially purchase a property with no money down and just assume the mortgage. It protects the government. It protects us as a people, because the way that the FHA works is that when you get an FHA mortgage, that PMI is going into like a slush fund so that in the event of a foreclosure, it pays, it really is like kind of socialism at its finest, right? Everyone in an FHA loan is paying into a figuratively an escrow account in the event that one of them forecloses. It's not a hack, is what I'm getting at. However, this is the whole reason I brought this up, is because I get that phone call on a semi-regular basis where people will reach out to me and be like, I want to get an assumable loan. This is what I'm doing. I heard about this on TikTok, or my real estate agent mentioned it to me. Yeah. And I kind of give the explanation on it. But the part that bums me out is that it's like, wait a minute. So the whole idea of home ownership is really not something that you see any value in. You're buying the home for the rate, not for the home. Right? And like, that's not terrible, but it's kind of a bummer. And so going back to you mentioning that I've got like a really cool job where I get to be involved in this and that, it ebbs and flows, because right now it seems to be very unimportant at actually looking at like kind of big picture stuff. It's more like, what interest rate are you going to provide to me? What's the payment going to be on this place? And furthermore, like, I typically only deal with buyers. I don't get to deal with home sellers as much because, they don't need the financing, right, unless they're buying as well. And it's become such a buyer's market that like the things that I'm watching buyers ask for from sellers is so wild, and some of them are getting away with it, which is great. I mean, it definitely a great time to buy, but it is kind of ugly to watch when like if you give a mouse a cookie.
Yeah, it's disheartening.
He's going to ask for a glass of milk.
Yeah.
And then he's going to want a napkin. And then he wants a blanket because he's going to take a nap. But before he does that, he's going to want to brush his teeth. So he needs a toothbrush and toothpaste. Yeah. And these buyers turn into this, right? And like all of these like wants, I want. And it's like, hey, real quick, like this should be fun. This is a long-term investment. Like, I understand getting a good deal is important, and I'm not trying to take anything away from that. But like this whole hard nose, like, fuck you, what are you going to do for me? What are you going to do for me? Because I've watched buyers just turn into what I would consider to be kind of like ugly people.
Yeah.
And even they know it too. That's what's kind of weird. They're like, I'm really sorry about this, but but
I got to get mine.
Right. So yeah, it's been a weird market over the last, I'd say 24 months mainly.
But like, as you said, right, you have been in this industry for so long that you've seen the ebbs and the flows.
True.
And hopefully we won't get like such cookie monsters.
Right.
We'll get
Have you ever read the book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie?
It was my favorite book growing up.
Glad
and
you got
actually,
the reference.
No, I still have the original book from when I was a kid. My mom saved it. And fun fact, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this.
I give it to all my salespeople.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
It was a great book, and I love the whole series. But did you know that the illustrator actually lives in the area?
Oh, I didn't know that.
She does.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I learned about it years ago up in Ohio, so big book. I did not know it was local to here.
I don't know if it's local to here, but this is where she resides now. She
I
resides in
gotcha.
the area,
Interesting.
and she may have used some services of mine in the past. So
That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
shout out to the illustrator of If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And anyone who's in sales or service industry or anything along those lines should read this book. I think it's a great book, and
I
it's
think
just a
so too.
very basic concept. Regarding, kind of back to your business, obviously the feel-good factor and everything that we made mention of, and being able to get involved with the, what do you call it? Just the improvements and everything along those lines. Is there anything outside of that part of it that you truly enjoy? I mean, 2 years it's not a super long time, but it's long enough that I don't think you're going anywhere in this space, right?
No, well, I mean, being in construction for close to a decade, right?
Yep.
There is something. I guess what you're asking for indirectly is like, what is my why? Like, why do I do this? What is something that drives me, and that I continue to. This is a hard industry, right?
Yeah.
For me, I love seeing the process of change. I love that. That's a big part of it. But I think for me, it's more so being a female in a male dominated career is something that I don't take lightly. It's not something that I just do just to do. I want to teach my kids that they can do hard stuff and that they deserve to stand in any room that they set foot in. And it's something that is super empowering. And I really love that about the industry. But honestly, like I said, I've been geeking out at tile stores and cabinetry places. There's something creative about it. I am not the most creative person, but seeing the masters of the trades that I work with, right? The subs, seeing the designer, seeing it's like this beautiful, delicate dance. And when we think of construction, if you're not in construction, it's just you just think of pants with that are weighed down by a tool belt and burping, and it's just chaos. And I hate thinking of construction in that site because
Like Tim the Tool Man.
exactly, right? But the reality is it's this beautiful, delicate, very structured dance that requires a lot of hand holding. It's beautiful, and I love that.
Is there anything outside of the networking that you're doing to generate business? I always ask that because everyone who's on here is in some form or fashion an entrepreneur. So those are typically the people who are listening to these. You've mentioned the networking and you're creating the circle of trust. And there's no wrong answer here. Is there anything you're doing outside of that seems to be working as well?
Well, something that we're kind of starting to do is what we're calling the golden hour. Again, like we're kind of leaning into the artistry thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Picasso, golden hour. So we have started the golden hour, which is a monthly happy hour,
Okay.
and we tend to invite like high performers.
Mm-hmm.
And we take you to really fun, cool places like a tile shop, right?
Yeah.
This month it's going to be Wednesday from 6 to 8.
So this is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. So tell us all about it. I'll try to get this out today so that I can promote it for you.
It's tomorrow. I brought it up tomorrow at Cabinet Couture. They are also a new cabinetry boutique that just opened up. They have a secret room.
Okay.
Super fun, super cool location.
And where is this?
5615 Burnett Road. Tomorrow, 6 to 8. And every month we're going to be rotating. So we want to not only highlight what we do and get in the room with selfishly, it's what it is, right? Like we want to get in the room with other networkers.
Sure.
But we also want to provide something. So we are providing a space for these boutiques to get their name out. We are providing a space for other designers and other architects to find each other and create those strategic relationships. We are providing a space where we share our creativity, our creative ideas, and it's a big collaboration.
Well, you've got to email me a flyer. I'll get this edited today, and I'll make sure that it gets out no later than this evening. So that'll give you all evening today as well as all day tomorrow to continue to promote it. So
Awesome.
I'll make it into a nice clip.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. Always trying to help out. What else do we need to know? Any other events? So you're saying you're doing this once a month, and is it going to be consistent like every Wednesday, like third Wednesday, or just?
The next one is on the 15th, I believe.
Okay.
Um, sorry, I know it's always so awkward when people pull out their phone.
No, you're fine. I mean, I
No, the
want you to
next one
get it
is on the
right.
17th. So it is roughly every third Wednesday of the month.
And where's the one on the 17th? We're not sure yet?
We are not sure
TBD?
yet. To be,
Okay.
we already have January. It's going to be at a tile shop.
Okay.
I'm very excited about it.
Let's go.
A boutique tile shop. But we are still figuring out. We're figuring out December. There's a lot of pop-up bars right now that are focused on like Christmas, and we kind of think that
Yeah.
would be fun for the month of December.
Sure.
So we're looking at some of that stuff, but.
Right on. Well, I'll make sure that I get the updated one for tomorrow out there, and then
Yeah.
I'll get you tagged and everything. We're all on social, so that should be easy. One other thing I wanted to ask, just out of my own curiosity before we cut loose or anything, what seems to be the either upgrade or style or whatever that you are seeing lately? So, doing all the rehab stuff and everything along those lines. We know kitchens and baths is like the big money maker in terms of resale value. Is there any trend that you're seeing that it seems to be more popular than not, or are we all just doing millennial gray still?
I love that you brought up millennial gray.
Yeah.
No, I don't hate. I love whatever style you love, right?
Okay.
That's my job. I love what you love. But millennial gray is starting to fall out of favor.
Okay.
And what I'm seeing is millennial green.
I know, I've been seeing
We
that too.
we are really digging like green cabinets.
Sage.
Yeah, gold poles, cabinet poles. I'm also seeing a lot of wallpaper. Wallpaper is coming in, and instead of seeing like these large format tiles that you're seeing in houses, you are seeing more delicate, smaller tiles that actually have like print on them.
Okay.
So what I'm seeing, and which is making me so happy, is we went from a very like millennial gray was almost in my head. It was very clinical. It was very and that works for some people. Some people really like and appreciate that.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing us lean into is really moody,
More
like
color.
textures and personality and colors. And people are starting to really make their home their own now, instead of I need to make my house look a certain way so I can sell it. Now people are saying, I'm going to make my home the way that I want to because I want to enjoy living in it.
Yeah.
And that's been really fun.
That is rewarding. I never even thought about the idea because you're right. Homes were moving faster, and that's probably why the whole millennial gray thing took off so well.
Absolutely. It pairs with anything.
Yeah. I'm like terrible at that stuff. I build things and do all of that, and then once it comes to design, I stay out of it.
Well, I have a designer. We could just do mood boards for you, and
There
you
you
can do
go.
all the work.
The things that I seem to like, no one else seems to like. I like traditional like wood and wood character and wood grain and what is it? Just more earth tones is
love
really
it.
been my style, but that doesn't seem to jive well with what everybody else is looking to do. So,
But if it's your home, make it your
right?
own.
Yeah, I'm a cabin in the woods guy.
Me too. If I could have a log cabin right now, I would. So that's actually how I got through 2020. How I got through quarantine is I was listening to the news religiously, like a lot of us were.
Yeah.
And my news feed was so like just depressing. And so I really wanted to tap into creativity, and I really wanted to, to escape. And so I intentionally changed the algorithm that I was looking at into creative works like art, people doing art, design, and tiny homes. I love tiny homes. So for like my feed was nothing but tiny homes and log cabins, and it's still something that really, I don't know, makes me feel at home.
I guess there's a way, yeah, you can like change your algorithm. I've heard of that. Like you can go into your settings. Well, you can at least erase it.
I didn't do that. I just was intentional of the stuff that I was interacting with.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because mine's like car crashes and animal attacks.
Mine's tarot card
Predominantly.
readings and yeah, for sure.
Well, Kim, what else do we need to know? You've been a great guest. I knew you would be. Some people get on here and they panic a little bit and they freeze, but
Oh no, this is fine.
Yeah.
But you know what? This would be harder if their microphones weren't here. Like if we were just having a one-to-one, I would feel more nervous
Really?
than the idea that this is going out to larger amounts of people. Is
Hmm.
that not weird?
No one has ever said that to me, but I think that does make sense. I don't know. I've just been networking for so long, and this to me is just so organic. But
Yeah.
yeah, I like that. You know, it kind of forces you to be more mindful, I guess. And
Well, it's I feel less pressure
mm,
where like with networking, like I'm very extroverted. I love big crowds. I'm not shy.
hmm,
Like I can get in the middle of a group of, 100 people and say my thing and not be anxious about it.
yeah,
But being one to one, all of a sudden I'm like worried, are you going to like me? Like what if I sound really stupid
mm,
or what if I'm not interesting enough or then the anxiety starts to creep in for me. Whereas if it's like a large crowd, I'm not seeing half the people.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think for me, the way that I combat that is I kind of assume that on the first one-to-one, you're probably not going to like me. You're not going to dislike me. But kind of to your point, like you're building that trust, right?
Right.
So like, how can I honestly expect to? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's happened. I mean, I've met people, and within a 35 to 45 minute meeting, like, we just hit it off, and we're like besties. But I guess I don't go into one-to-ones thinking that that's how it's going to go. I go into it with thinking that I don't think I've ever been to a one-to-one that I left and I thought, boy, I don't like that person, right?
That's really fortunate.
So knowing that, like, worst case scenario is like, yeah, they're okay. And I go into most of mine thinking that I'm going to leave with someone saying, yeah, he's like, okay, because my intention is to follow back up maybe, 30, 60, 90 days and do a second one-to-one. And
Well, this is our second one to one, and
right.
it's just like 2 years late.
Yeah. But I mean, I've seen you since. It's not
No,
like,
I'm just giving you.
it's
Yeah,
not like we haven't seen each other at all and we follow each other on social media. And I know that's not like totally organic. That's not really like what you're supposed to do, but
it
you
works.
know,
It works in a small town like this. It works.
I was mind blown by Kim's coffee.
Right.
I
It's
really
really
was.
grown.
That was just so impressive to me. And one of the other things that was just really strange is that I met so many people that there was a while there that and this is something that really, and I haven't figured out what I'm about to say, made me kind of identify something about myself is that I apparently, and I did not know this, but I kind of like network and kind of go with the flow. And people introduce me to people, and then I just kind of always say yes, and I meet them. And it made me identify that like I was really doing a ton of networking in Buda between like 2020 and like 2023,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow like got away from that.
Mm-hmm.
And going back down there, I was really shocked at the amount of people that I knew at that event that are all like local to that area and everything along those lines. And I just had a lot of like different feelings. Like part of me was like, wow, that's really cool. The other part was like, man, I need to start getting back down here. And then the third piece of it was like, there's a lot of tried and true Buda networkers that are like literally doing it for years over year over year.
Yeah.
That you could literally like go in a time machine or better yet, not a time machine. You could put yourself in a glass case and go network in Buda 5 years from now, and you'll see a lot of the
You'll
same
still
people.
see. Yeah, you'll probably still see me.
Right.
There once you realize the power of networking, and it's not so much networking as it's building those relationships.
Yeah.
Once you see the power in that, and especially with like a smaller town like Buda and Kyle, and I think that there's something unique to that. I don't feel the same way in Austin.
No,
I can
I agree.
network in Austin, and I don't feel that same connection, but we see each other at the
It's not
HEB.
impossible, but it's tougher.
Yeah, but like I see these guys at the HEB,
Yeah.
right? Like there's this built-in trust of like, oh hey, how are you doing?
Sure.
Going just out and about and seeing the same people. So you kind of form these close bonds.
It's something I'm trying to replicate with this place here, where again, I mean, I know I told you off camera or whatever, but we do this networking event every single Friday. Everyone who is officing out of here, it is with the intention of, coming in and kind of holding each other accountable. right?
Mhm.
Even though not one person in this office works at the same brokerage as
Right.
another, which that's not by design. Um, and then, you've got different entities that do completely different work. And like we all kind of hold each other accountable. And the idea is to come in and like tell, whether it's horror stories or success stories about, because we're all salespeople, we're all entrepreneurs. And that is something I'm trying to replicate in this office. And I never even thought about it until you mentioned it. Like, because you're right, we don't see each other at the grocery store. It's a lot bigger up here. There's a lot more going on. So maybe what I'm trying to do is just replicate that cult-like vibe that you guys have down in Buda already,
See, you
right
loved
here out
it.
of
You fell in love
the
with
right,
it, and
right
it
here out
stuck
of the
with
real
you.
estate trap house.
I love it. I'm now that I know where this is,
Yeah, you
I'm
got to come
totally
through.
coming. Where do people park?
So we have the ability we have 7 spaces in the front.
Okay.
And then that basically is everyone that is here. On Fridays, we ask that anyone that offices here to park over on Cope Bridge. There's no HOA or anything like
Okay.
that. So street parking is, not a problem. So yeah, I mean, it's legitimately 50 yards right there.
So
And
what'd you cook last Friday?
so I try to do a brisket once a month because that seems to
Okay.
be a fan favorite. So I did a brisket. We started on Thursday. It took 17 hours, so it was ready for lunchtime on Friday. We do it from 1 to 6. So it was brisket, coleslaw. We did mac and cheese, kept it real basic. And then we keep the fridge full with beer and White Claw and all of those kind of things. So,
This doesn't sound good for my diet, but I'm so into this.
well, there's like 3 groups of people, right? So you've got the 1 o'clock people that show up like right at lunch. I feel like they come in, they eat, they typically do not drink. And then they kind of just like network a little bit, and they're usually out by like 2:30.
Okay.
Then you've got the 3 o'clock crowd. The 3 o'clock crowd typically comes in, they eat, they hang out, they
Probably
have
your
like,
trades, right?
what's up?
They're probably your trades.
No. They're last. They're group 3. Group 2 is typically like your agents and
Okay.
your like professionals. Group 1 is usually, I hate to say it, but it's like older people. They're
Okay.
usually like a little older. They get
Okay.
here at 1, they eat, they don't drink, they leave at 2:30. Then there's the 3 o'clock crowd. They come in, they eat.
They're
then it's
ending
like,
their day.
yeah. Then it's like 4:30. They have like 1 or 2 drinks, and they're usually out by like 5. And then you've got like the 4:30, 5 o'clock crowd. They come in and they act like they're gonna eat. They just booze. and like maybe we'll like grab like a little like side plate or like grab like a slice of brisket and eat it. And then we say it's from 1 to 6, and then depending on what I have going on, and usually in the fall, we typically will take it outside. I mean, we've had these go to like midnight if there's the right people here and we're shooting pool or whatever.
Yeah.
I would say that's usually like once a quarter that'll
Okay.
happen. But I have to be honest with the fact that it has been slow the last few weeks.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's holiday related. I don't know if it's business related. One of the things that I've identified is that real estate agents seem to be a little more social when they're busy, which you would think would be the other way around.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm busy, I don't have time. But they seem to just be in a better mood. And, I think these are all just theories I have. I could be totally wrong, but I think like when you're doing well, you kind of are more inept to go out and say like, hey, like I'm crushing it. Like things are good.
I mean, that's
great to see
true.
everybody. Opposed to like if you're slow, you're like.
I don't really want to talk about it.
And furthermore, I have literally seen agents make comments to the tune of like, why would I go network with a bunch of industry professionals because none of them are going to buy a home from me or sell their home with me, which is kind of true. Right?
Sure.
But like the one thing that we have identified, and I am starting to see agents get better at this, we always talk about how important the experience is and how important it is to advocate for our clients. Well, I'm here to tell you that nothing makes for a better experience for your client if all of the people in the transaction and one of those people in the transaction is going to be another real estate agent. So if you have a buyer, you're going to deal with an agent on the sales side. Or if you're a seller, you're going to deal with an agent on the buy side.
Sure.
And when you know who that agent is and have connected with them outside of work, that transaction, I've watched it as an outsider, as a lender. That transaction is like, I'm talking 10x better
Of course.
than dealing with somebody who you don't know and you've never worked with. And if you're being honest and saying that, like, I just want what's best for my clients, you should make it your like part-time job to know as many local agents as you can. And a lot of them are here.
On Fridays.
On Friday.
From 1 to 6.
From 1 to 6. And you have to eat, right?
Absolutely.
And like cooking is one of my like, side passions. I really enjoy it. I make good stuff and I'm open to criticism. We're actually having Joe the Wing King on Friday.
Oh.
Have you met Joe the Wing King?
He networks in NIA, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, look at this. Yeah. I've been wanting to taste this food.
Yeah, so he's won a bunch of awards and this is like his thing. And he's got his proprietary rub and his whole system in terms of he does catering, but you can buy the rub separately if you want. And he's going to be on Friday, and he and I are trying to work out an event that we're going to do here where instead of me cooking, Joe's going to cater it, and we're going to showcase Joe the Wing King, and we're going to tell everybody that they got to get here because, I mean, who doesn't like chicken wings? Especially award-winning chicken wings.
No, I want some chicken. Are they going to be smoked?
He's got a 3-step process that I'm going to hear all about on Friday. We're not going to give too much away from what I understand, but just enough so that you guys know what's going on. And, it's going to be an interesting episode, and we're going to utilize it to, kind of create a buzz for whatever date it is. It'll probably be after the holidays.
Okay.
But we're going to try to put something together to where we are going to be showcasing his wings, and we want to try to get a lot of people here. And then another thing that we've never done that I really want to do, I've been lucky enough to make a lot of friends with some pretty famous local musicians here, some pretty big names. And I have a few of the musicians that play for the famous people that have offered me the opportunity to have them come in and do live music outside. And I think during Joe the Wing King's event, I'm going to try to hire one of the 2 people that I have in mind. They've played with some pretty big names, and just do live music in the backyard, get Joe the Wing King's wings going, and really just make it like a
huge
like
thing.
a special networking event, not just a barbecue and mingle, like a big deal.
A big thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll make sure you're invited. I will.
Very excited.
And then I'll work on getting your clip out today.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you think that people need to know about Kimberly Fannin and Picasso Painting, Design, and Remodel? Well, if not, this doesn't have to be your last time on the podcast.
I don't want it to, I want to do a podcast where we just shoot the shit and not even be business related.
That's great. We can do
that.
Because
I think that would be fun with you.
I can get real heady. There's been a few people who have come on and done those with me. Yoga instructors, stuff like that. We had Fabi on here. Fabiana, she's a therapist.
Yes.
Licensed therapist.
Yeah.
So we had her on here, and we talked about
Did you
experiences with therapy. No, I did not. But we got pretty heady. We weren't really talking about business. We were talking about, therapy and just ways to just be better humans. So whatever you want to do, you let me know. You've got the link to book on the podcast. That goes for anyone else that wants to be on the podcast. Just let me know. This is something that as long as there's time for it, I do it.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited. Thank you for letting me be.
You're very welcome. You were a great guest. Like I said, there's 3 kinds of guests that come on here, and only 3.
Okay.
So the first one is a good guest that has the ability to come on and just have a basic conversation. Then you've got guests that are very much like one-word answers.
Oh.
I'm really dragging stuff out of them.
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably only like 10 to 15%.
Okay.
And then you get these really jokey guests. That seems to be a thing where they're like popping like goofy jokes that aren't that funny and they're laughing a lot. Surprisingly, that is another like probably 10 to 15%. So anytime I sit down with somebody, in my mind, there's a 70% chance it's going to be normal. And then there is a 30% chance that I'm either dragging answers out of you or you
can't wait till it's over.
You're like joking around and that like this is like a comedy skit or something. And Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Take some time and watch some of the podcasts, people. You'll.
And where do we find your podcast?
Oh, that's great. So the podcast on Spotify is just under Matt Kirschling. I call it the Real Estate Blueprint.
Okay.
And then it is just my name on YouTube. We didn't get the tagline, the Real Estate Blueprint, because I think someone else took it. But if you search my name, I'm lucky enough to have somewhat of a unique last name, and because of that, I'm very easy to find.
Awesome. Well, I'll look it up then.
Yeah, for sure. I'll make sure that I send you your links as well via text message, and then you can follow the podcast on Spotify. Start listening to a lot of your peers. I'll bet you if you go through all the episodes, for you, there's probably 25 to 30 people that you know that have been on this podcast that you can listen to their interviews.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward
Awesome.
to it.
Well, thanks for coming through.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.